You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Defiance After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Defiance After Show.
Ooh, such moody Halo-esque music. Hey there, AfterBuzzers. Bing is for doing, and we are here doing the Defiance After Show. I am Matt Lieberman, and sitting to my left.
Yes, I'm Scott Moore.
All right.
Very first episode
I know.
ever.
So exciting. This big transmedia experiment.
Yes.
An explosion of a show and a game that influence each other in real time. We are doing the very first episode, the pilot. I know what I thought. I want to hear what you, Scott, thought seeing this pilot, you know, knowing nothing going in.
Well, knowing nothing going in, I thought it was good. I think it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I think it also has a nice possibility for sci-fi fans, but also drawing in some people that may not be sci-fi fans into this fold. If they do it correctly. It's a fine line, but I think if they do it correctly, it could be good for both kind of fans.
Yeah, I think that the key word here is promising. You know, it feels like it feels like one of the last true full-on sci-fi shows to be on TV. It's not sci-fi light. It feels almost like a space show, even though it is on Earth. We've got aliens, we've got prosthetics, we've got our CG. We've got complicated mythology and backstory,
lots of
politics.
Backstory, yes. Yeah, it does. It definitely had that really, like exactly what you said, that kind of space. It didn't really fit like it was in any time period here on Earth. It was really interesting. It wears its references on its sleeve. You know, you've got some Firefly in there. You know, you've got very Han Solo type in Nolan. And I also got a little bit of a Deep Space Nine feel in terms of the politics. It's lighter than, say, a Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely a lot of fun. Now, the mythology, and we hear a bit of it at the top through Irisa's monologue, but it is a bit more complex than it was alluded to in the show. If you've played the game, you're aware of this, and I just want to break it down for everyone at home that just watched the show and is a fan of the show.
Yes, so, I was gonna say break it down for the people that may not have played the game too. All
right, so I'm gonna do this in as painless a way as possible, with no pain. So about 33 years ago, we saw the Votan ships, the Votan arcs, arrive on Earth from young Nolan's perspective. Which
would have been now, actually. Which would take place this year if you were to do the 33-year thing, because it was 2046 where this was taking place, which I thought was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, it's a cool speculative future. So the arcs arrive with 7 Votan races: the Castethans, who we met in the form of the Tars, the Gulani, which are actually kind of like they look like balls of light.
No, we almost need like a chart here with a visual so we could break it down.
We haven't met them yet on the show. We haven't met them yet on the show, but they're kind of like balls of light that can't survive for long outside of these sort of like survival suits.
Yeah, almost like an energy type of.
Yeah, they're like energy beings, like the old school Star Trek energy beings. We've got the Indigenes, which we met a few of this week with Doc Yule and Ben. Amanda's assistant. We've got the Arathians, so Irisa and the Spirit Riders, the Liberata, and the Sensoths we haven't met yet.
No.
And then the Volge, which are the fearsome. They're basically like robot orcs, kind of like that. The battle scene reminded me a lot of Helm's Deep in the Two Towers.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're
like down to the rain and the cliffs and like the people on the wall. Like absolutely, it's just guns over bows.
Guys, there's gonna be a test at the end of this episode.
No test. So these races come on the arcs, and the humans allow a small amount of them to begin to colonize the planet. However, a few of the arcs are destroyed under mysterious circumstances. And that's what started the Pale Wars, which lasted for 15 years. And only recently on the show, a few years earlier, did they end.
And now there's just sort of I would say almost like a ceasefire, because it's there's supposed to be peace, but there's just this very fragile peace of everyone living in harmony here.
Well, it's because the government has kind of been shattered. Local government has taken over, and it's all these townships and fiefdoms, and everyone's fending for themselves.
Yes.
Although there is, what was it called? Earth Republic?
Yes, the Earth Republic was mentioned.
Yeah, it was name dropped a few times, but
I don't know what that entails exactly, what part of the Earth is. It kind of reminded me of the Hunger Games in a sense, where you go into the future, but then it felt like very much in the past. Like, it wasn't like the normal kind of things you were thinking about. All I kept thinking in my head was, great, I definitely won't be getting my Social Security then at that point.
No Social Security.
So I was thinking, like, nothing then.
Yeah. But if you're a prostitute, things kind of work out.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say it's good business. If you could get it as a prostitute, yes, that's true.
Yeah. So let's talk about Nolan and Irisa. We find them chasing arcs when pieces of these spaceships fall to Earth. It's called an arc fall, and treasure hunters everywhere are looking for them, and they find this energy core.
And they fall pretty regularly. What we were to kind of assume at the very beginning. As they're driving around, there's just bits and pieces falling down around them, and
tons of debris.
Yep.
Yeah, and we get a sense of their relationship. Now, Nolan is Irisa's adopted father. What did you think of their relationship?
Well, first when the opening sequence where they're driving down the road, I was like, are they dating? Like at first it wasn't 100% clear, and I didn't realize that she was alien at the very beginning either.
Really?
Yeah, until a couple minutes in, because I was just thinking, oh, okay. And that's the thing, I guess, that particular race does look very human-like, except for the eyes and the cheekbones and certain features otherwise look very human-like, in my opinion. So I was thinking, oh, it's just like a future human at first, but then I realized, okay, they're not dating. She's an alien. There's a whole backstory there.
And I love that they're not dating. They're not together.
Yeah. No, I like the whole adopted father. I think that was kind of a really unique thing to start off with at the very beginning.
Oh, like it's something that we haven't seen in as hard sci-fi as this show is, but it also helps this show lend. And I will stop comparing the show to other things, but it's got so much.
It's hard though when it's the first. I know. When it's the very first show. It's the very first episode. Yeah. All you have to work on is comparisons.
But compare this to Eureka. Did you watch Eureka?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like the pilot of that.
I'm familiar enough with
the pilot of that is the U.S. Marshal driving cross country through the Canadian woods, which are supposed to be California, with his daughter, who was a runaway. And this show, that's my biggest fear about this show, is that it will become Eureka with aliens.
Yeah, it's kind of taking a lot of influences from other shows, so we'll have to see how it pans out on its originality, because that was one of my concerns too. After I watched, I thought, how many things is it taking from other areas, and how can this be different and original and continue to keep going?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do.
Yeah. So they get wounded in the encounter with the Spirit Riders, who we see again later in the episode, and they're brought to Defiance, which we learn at the end of the episode is actually Nolan's hometown of St. Louis, which I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there are very few black people in Defiance, which is not St. Louis at all.
Well, the other thing that I was kind of surprised about too is like, oh, right away, like there was a former woman mayor, and then a new woman mayor.
Fionnuala Flanagan.
Interesting, that they were very good with at least giving women the power right away there in this mixed world, which I was impressed by.
Well, I think in the future,
with all these crazy men there, and I'm thinking, are they going to revert back to more barbarian type of ways? And yet they had these women leaders here right away. I
think we're going to see far more women leaders in the future, and in a lot of like, I don't know. I'm drawn to like Why the Last Man, where just all the men die out and women take over.
Well, that's what I was wondering. How did her character get? Why? Because I'm thinking the political side. How did she get to be mayor? Julie Benz's what was it?
Yeah.
Amanda. I keep wanting to say
Amanda
Rosewater. I keep wanting to say Rainwater. Like, how did she get in? She just seemed like she was a little over her head in this episode too. So it just, I don't know. It was interesting.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out more about her meteoric rise to power.
I'm very curious about her backstory, especially.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about the political situation in Defiance. When we meet Amanda and the former mayor, played by Fionnuala Flanagan, they're dedicating a statue to the Defiant Few, which were members of the 9th Battalion or the 9th Legion and members of the Votan Army who laid down their arms and refused to fight. And Nolan is, of course, one of these Defiant Few. So we have Rafe McCauley, a human who owns the mines in Defiance, the richest man in Defiance, probably.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. And Daytak Tar, a Castithan, who is a gangster.
Okay, I'm glad you remember everybody's names so well, because I need to write them all.
I do Doctor Who, and it's like, you gotta know. You gotta know the details. So Daytak Tar and his wife Stama, which I did have to look that up.
Yep.
Played by Jamie Murray and Tony Curran, genre faves from Dexter, and Tony Curran played Vincent Van Gogh on Doctor Who in a great episode.
Nice little cross connections there.
Yeah, good casting. So Stama, she's very Lady Macbeth.
Yeah.
Like, completely. Like, she manipulates her husband so gleefully and cunningly.
Which I enjoyed watching that, though.
Yeah.
That was good.
But we've got this, like, Romeo and Juliet thing happening.
Yes, that's true. There is, like, that whole Romeo and Juliet kind of sub-storyline going on, too.
How do you feel about that? Where do you think that's going to go?
You know what? I see the comparisons to Romeo and Juliet, but I think it's going to have to not be exactly that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe it'll be something good to say for later on.
I know. And we just have to hope and pray that this teen subplot wears better than, say, the teens on Terra Nova.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they want to do this whole subplot here with that storyline.
Yeah, but they're definitely going to be scheming, and I love the way that they revealed what Daytak does for a living. Because you think at first he's complaining about his reception at the presentation, and you think he's just saying, "Oh, because I'm an alien, because I'm a Castithan." Yeah. The people don't like me as much as they love their beloved Rafe McCauley. And then this guy runs up to him.
Yeah, it's true, because I thought it was sort of that was the whole thing. When he first said it, I didn't really go much into it from that.
Yeah, he's talking about the things that he's done for his family, and we don't know what those are. And then this poor, pathetic Castithan runs up to him with a fistful of cash and just gets taken down a peg right there in the street. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got them. We've got just exploring more of the wider world of Defiance. We have the head of the whorehouse, Kenya, who we discover late in the game is Amanda's sister. Yes. Now you've got the woman who runs the town, and you've got the woman who runs the whorehouse. From the same family. How does something like that happen, do you think,
I think
Scott?
that it's very easy to happen is if you have like the studious perfect child, and then you get the other child that kind of is the rebel and the black sheep of the family, and so it made sense to me. You have one side and the other, and maybe we'll find out more too, like how close they are as we go along. How much does each of them know? Yeah. As far as the mayor and as far as her running her business, her underground business, I don't know. Yeah. But I think it makes perfect sense, because you do get that a lot. The overachiever and then the one that never feels like they can match up.
Yeah. Do you think that Amanda would judge Nolan for sleeping with her sister if it was a business transaction?
If it was a business transaction, yes.
Yes.
She seems very judgy.
She seems very judgy.
Yes, I would.
And rightly so.
Yes, I would definitely think she would, without a doubt.
Yeah. Now I want to talk more about.
I just want to note they were drinking when they first went into the bar. What was that blue stuff?
It's the good stuff, is what it is.
That's I want to know.
Or they just a whole bunch of Bombay Sapphire or
that was glowing
or Hypnotic survived the terraforming.
Yeah, the Hypnotic survived
the terraforming.
That wouldn't actually surprise me. For it to survive the end of the world. No, because
Twinkies and Hypnotic.
Yes,
the only things
to be left to eat and drink for the rest of your life on Earth. No, I always wonder because it's always kind of funny to me that the sci-fi stuff tends to end up having lots of blue, glowy, lit up things, which I always find kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, our studio's some nice, fun, bluey glow things.
Yes, behind us.
Yeah. So we've got this this plot that they uncover. You know, the lawkeeper's killed. Nolan steps in for a fee so that he and Irisa can get to Antarctica, which has become this paradise.
Yes, I'm thinking, wow, it's now this big, amazing tropical beachfront place because you could see the postcard at the very beginning and it looked like it was like Hawaii.
But then, like rewatching it, he scratched out whatever was there and wrote in Antarctica, so it probably wasn't a picture of Antarctica. Yeah. And I'm wondering if that was just like something that he was telling Irisa, you know, to give her hope for the future.
That's interesting too. Yeah, because they did scratch it out. I just figured it was sort of like the place maybe he didn't even know, but it was sort of
the rumor.
Yeah. That Antarctica is the best place to be, and everyone ends up there, and it's utopia. And he was just trying to get through
sipping
there.
Blue stuff out of coconuts.
Yes, right on the beach there. Yeah, because they talked about him going through Denver, and that there was nothing left of Denver as he was passing through. So you do kind of wonder like what's left of the rest of the planet, and so yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, Irisa doesn't like cities or towns or anything. She said that, and she feels uncomfortable there. So, could be like you said. Maybe he was just saying it to give her hope, to get her through, to keep her happy.
Now, I hope that the show explores more of what happened to the rest of the world because I know it's going to stay fairly local. You know, because the game takes place in San Francisco or what used to be San Francisco. This takes place in St. Louis, and I hope that we see some episodes where they explore more of the planet. Or at the very least, you know, we're seeing far-off doings and schemings potentially on the part of
and what the Earth Republic is. And how much does that entail? Like you said, I'd love to see like what else is out there.
Well, they were negotiating something with Amanda that she flat out refused because the ex-mayor told her to. Like basically offering them aid in exchange for what was coming out of the mines, and she refused, showing that, you know, in the future, people don't trust Earth Republic. The government is not to be trusted. So you have to wonder what kind of atrocities they've wrought in the years since the Pale Wars.
Yeah, which I guess we will be finding out in future episodes.
So many tantalizing things.
So many ways, so many different directions they could go in.
Yeah. I really want to know why our ex-mayor wanted to wipe out Defiance. She let the Volge know where the place was. She had a plot in motion to make sure that the defenses were down. The Volge would have taken everyone apart. Why? Is it what's in the mines? Is there something buried in old St. Louis potentially? I know that in the next episode or so there is going to be a sequence in old St. Louis. I read
there's
in
some kind of scheming is going on her part. Yeah,
but what
is she gonna get out of it?
Yeah, but what we don't know is what Luke Macaulay gave to Ben, or like why he was involved with this scheme. What we'll never know because he's dead. Yeah, now, obviously.
I don't know. Yeah, there's so many different directions I feel in my mind that it could go in, and I'll probably be wrong with all of them.
So. Well, what's your hope of hopes going forward?
Well, I hope really that they continue on character development because that's going to be very key to me on why we need to feel attached to these people and this location. What is it? What kind of things are we going to be looking for out of Defiance? Like, how are they going to all interact together? And so for me, it's always going to be character development because you can have all the pretty visuals. And I thought visually, like CGI and everything, it was really well done.
Yeah, they knew where to spend the money.
They knew where to have it spent. They made a great look with everything. But it's going to be paramount how these characters are going to interact going forward because otherwise I'm going to lose interest pretty quick.
Yeah, and we've seen that in some of the genre light shows that we've had in recent years, V or Flash Forward or even Terra Nova, where you know, you have this great high concept, but then it's just hard to keep it going because you don't care about anybody.
No, and you don't care about anyone, and that's the thing. And keeping it to a point where it makes sense too.
Yeah,
that things are happening, and that it doesn't just come out of left field, and then you're just kind of okay. It's too
I would say coming out of the pilot, Irisa is probably the most sympathetic character.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
You know, she watched Nolan murder her parents, and she loves him for it. Which begs the question: how horrible were they? You know, we see the Arathians are these very vicious, fierce warriors living on the fringes of society.
And why is she not like them?
Yeah. Well, you have to assume it's Nolan's influence. But, like, you know, I think what I really want to see is I want to see more of Nolan's vulnerability and see why is he such a rogue? You know, like we got a lot of backstory from him, but not a lot of development. He's a type we've seen before.
Yes, definitely.
And that's what he is. Like, Grant Bowler is well cast. He plays him well.
He does. Yeah, I thought that was great casting. Actually, I think the whole cast is actually
a really well cast show. And I want to see him get developed. I loved our doctor, Doc Yule.
Yes, I did too.
Which, like, she did some amazing work with what could have been a throwaway part. Like you immediately get her point of view from her first line, and she just owns every scene that she's in.
Yeah, she was great. Yeah, I loved her little one-liners too, and you know, he says you can't pay her. She's like, get out.
Yeah, just get out. She doesn't care. She doesn't have time for it. Being a doctor on the fringe, there's no time.
I loved her tool too, the little.
Oh yeah, like the plasma cutter.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and her little exchange with. I loved all the little energy weapons. I mean, I'm a sucker for energy.
See, that's what I'm saying. I like all that stuff too. Yeah. Anything that glows.
Except for drinks, apparently.
No, I am. I just want to know what's in them.
You just want to know.
I want to know what I'm ingesting. I want to know what that main ingredient is. But that's what I'm saying. I'm just a sucker for things that glow.
Sucker for blue glowing
stuff. You have me. It doesn't take much to impress me.
Well, internet, you heard it here first. Scott is a sucker for this show because it's wall-to-wall blue stuff.
And my birthday's coming up, so just send something to me with something that glows.
Oh my God, the toys from this show are going to be insane.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love the doc. That was, I think, just my favorite, you know, not necessarily I wouldn't say a lead character, but very important character that we're going to see more of.
Yeah.
I loved her. I thought she was fun, and it kind of added a little balance to what else was going on there.
And I loved the chemistry between our new deputy law keeper and Irisa while she was locked up. He kind of reminded me a little bit of like a young Keith David, who... I'm trying, like, you mostly just know him for his voice, but regardless, I feel like if there was anybody on the show who she's gonna wind up in a relationship with, it's him. I can see it already, and it's like it's gonna be weird, and it's like it's going to be one of those comedy relationships where like they're so mismatched that it works, and then of course, I see it.
No, you're right. I could see it too because they already had kind of a thing going on in this first episode.
Yeah. I mean, unless the leader of the Spirit Riders sticks around and tries to lay his steampunk hands on our beloved Irisa, which Nolan won't be having. We'll sick a Bioman on him.
Yeah,
that ridiculous Bioman. He was huge. He was massive, and he had a serial number, which I guess he's a genetically engineered thing.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I took away from that too. There's definitely some things going on there being genetically altered.
Cool. Yeah. Any other points, things that stuck out at you, things that you loved, things that you hated, before I move on to my next point?
No, the only thing that again I think is that just need to see some clarity as we move forward on, because there was just a bunch of, you know how pilots are, there's just a bunch of stuff going on. What's going to be the big stuff that we're going to see going forward? Knowing the character development, I want to know Nolan's backstory a little bit more.
Yeah. The
whole outlaw stuff, what happened. And I also kind of want to get a better idea, too, of how everyone's going to kind of come together in Defiance. It just feels like, is there going to be another war? It just feels like it's so fragile piece that it just feels like it's going to explode at any minute.
I definitely agree. And I just want to take a quick second and encourage everybody who's listening or watching the show. to subscribe to us on iTunes, and please
fancy iTunes.
Yes, and please give us a rating and a comment. We'd love to hear your feedback as the show goes forward. It's a brand new show. We're all becoming fans together, so let's be a community.
That's fun that we can kind of start off together.
Yeah.
And watch it as it progresses.
Yeah, so let us know what you think about the show, about what we're doing, anything that you spotted that you think we need to talk about.
Yes, please, let us know.
Yeah, we love our fans here at AfterBuzz. And now AfterBuzz is actually, this is very recent, now streaming on iPhones, iPads, tablets, Android. So you can watch our shows live. You can also find old episodes anywhere you have a data connection.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
We live in the gosh darn future, Scott.
I know, we do.
Yeah. The Jetsons thought of everything except the internet.
They did, right?
Except
that, still no flying cars.
Still no flying cars, but we have the internet. But I would argue that the internet is a far bigger innovation than any flying car could be.
True, but have you ever sat in traffic in LA?
Okay, fair, Scott.
Could use that flying car.
Yeah. For me, I'm most interested in our core mysteries. We have sort of the underlying mythology of the show. What happened to Earth? The terraforming technology that transformed it.
Yes, definitely the terraforming technology. Yeah. I do want to know about that as well.
Yeah,
Good
which was unleashed by the Votans after the destruction of the Arks. Who destroyed the Arks? How did that happen? And it caused this war. Was there a purpose in that? Was someone trying to wipe out everyone on the planet?
Yeah, was there a bigger reason behind it?
And are the same people who were behind the destruction of those arcs behind this plot in Defiance? We have a face to it with Thionia Flanagan. We don't know who she works for. Is it Earth Republic? Is it?
And who is the Earth Republic?
Who is the Earth Republic?
Who are they?
Who are the E-Reps?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll meet them over the course of the season. I definitely want to start playing the game so I can get a sense of the larger world.
Yeah.
My biggest hope for the show is that we see what all great sci-fi shows do, which is to use the lens of science fiction to talk about larger issues, political issues.
Like Star Trek, I always thought did beautifully with that, talking about larger issues of the day through the storylines. Yeah. So I'm hoping the same thing.
Well-drawn characters who are dealing with group dynamics and dealing with the struggle of maintaining a society at the end of the world, basically.
Yeah, and a very fragile society that's barely held together here.
Like while Nolan is effectively our sheriff of our frontier town, I don't want murder of the week episodes, or at least not many. You can have a few.
No, if they make sense for the plot and the overall story direction, sure, but not just to have them the kind of throwaway.
Absolutely.
Doesn't make sense otherwise.
Okay. I think that's everything that I have to say about this episode. Scott?
Yeah, no, that's right there with you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. AfterBuzz puts out 60 shows a week. So if you like this show, then I'm sure you'll like some of our others.
You like the other 59 shows out there?
The other 59 shows. Scott, where can our listeners find you?
Well, you can see me on Sunday nights with the Celebrity Apprentice after show for the next couple weeks, and you can find me on Twitter at SMan80. That's SMAN80. Okay, and you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. I'm also here on AfterBuzz on the Doctor Who After Show, as well as the Mad Men After Show. And if you're in LA and you love live comedy, you can see me the first Sunday of every month at the IO West Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, 6366 Hollywood Boulevard, at 7:30 p.m. as a member of DJ Fawcett. Thank you guys for listening.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.